There is absolutely no doubt in my highly educated mind that Double Dragon remains one of the most influential and mysterious franchises in gaming history. When the original game hit arcades back in 1987, it didn't just make waves, it rewrote the rulebook, setting the stage for the entire beat-em-up genre and introducing the world to the magic of two-player cooperative combat. A couple of years ago, I embarked on a daring quest to trace every twist and turn of this legendary saga, from its triumphant highs to its baffling missteps and long-forgotten experiments. But the deeper I dug, the stranger things became. Behind the well-known titles lies a web of obscurities, cancelled projects, and games that time itself seems to have buried. And today, we're about to unearth one of the most overlooked and mysterious entries of them all. A lost chapter so elusive it's been erased from modern storefronts. So with that said, hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. This is the story of an incredibly impressive, delisted Double Dragon game. Yeah! In my opinion, Double Dragon is an incredible franchise, one that somehow continues to rise from the ashes time and time again, with new releases still emerging to this day. And I've got a little treat for you brawlers out there. Right now you can use my links below to grab a huge 30% off the newly released Double Dragon Revive, a game I genuinely had a blast with, and an absolutely insane 75% off Double Dragon Neon, dropping it to under $3. That's less than the price of a pint for my personal favourite Double Dragon of them all. Save up to 90% off thousands of amazing titles, so happy shopping and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. As brilliant as Double Dragon can be, there's no denying that diving into this series is a bit like reaching into Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. You never quite know what flavour of chaos you're going to get. One moment you're throwing down in a genre-defining masterpiece crafted by Yoshihisa Kishimoto, and next you're suffering through the fever dream that was the American-produced Double Dragon 5 The Shadow Falls. This is a franchise that has seen dizzying highs, catastrophic lows, and more reinventions than Madonna's career, each one trying and often failing to recapture the spark that made it special. Over the years, countless developers have tried to drag the dragons into the modern age, but more often than not, the series has learned that leaning into nostalgia is its safest bet. The first time this approach really hit the mark was with Double Dragon Advance on the Game Boy Advance, a game I've praised countless times before. The visuals were overhauled, the combat became deeper and tighter, and a host of new stages gave players something fresh to sink their fists into. It was a love letter to the series' roots that reminded the world exactly why Double Dragon mattered in the first place. Yet one of the most appealing looking Double Dragons is sadly inaccessible to most players. So let's salivate over what we cannot play. This download-only Double Dragon release once again set out to reimagine the 1987 classic, proof that developers simply cannot resist returning to the game that started it all. This time, however, the Dragons made their debut on iOS, which might tempt some to shrug it off as just another mobile game. And well, technically, yes, it is a mobile game, but it's also a surprisingly robust and lovingly crafted retro experience, built with far more passion and polish than most of its pocket-sized peers. Developed by Brizo Interactive, the same studio responsible for the Zeebo remake 2 years prior, Double Dragon Mobile was essentially a remake of a remake. Yet it wasn't some lazy arcade port slapped onto a touchscreen. This version boasted Bluetooth multiplayer, online rankings, brand new artwork and sprite designs, and even additional story illustrations and cutscenes that gave a narrative more weight than ever before. Once again, we join brothers Billy and Jimmy Lee as they leave their humble dojo to take on the brutal streets of a post-nuclear wasteland in search of their kidnapped companion. Of course, being Marion held hostage by the notorious Machine Gun Willie and his Black Warriors gang. The game opens with an all-new illustrated cutscene, a stylish retelling of the classic damsel in distress tale, before throwing players straight into the chaos. Whether tackling the action solo or with a partner through local co-op, the brawling kicks off in the city slums of Stage 1. Long-time fans will instantly notice how much love went into the game's visual overhaul. Crumbling walls now sport graffiti and posters, pedestrians move about in the background, and the once static world feels alive with gritty urban energy. For a mobile title, this wasn't just a nostalgic callback, it was a full-blown resurrection, proving that even on a tiny screen, Double Dragon still packed one hell of a punch. When it comes to combat, this reimagining of a reimagining does a remarkable job of keeping the old school spirit alive while smartly adapting it for modern mobile play. The standard non-modded release included on-screen touch controls, but players can also map inputs to physical buttons, perfect for traditionalists who want that satisfying tactile feel of a real pad in their hands. The fundamentals remain faithful to the classics: punch, kick and unleash the Lee brothers' trademark dragon abilities. Yet there's an added layer of finesse here. The returning dash mechanic, triggered by a quick double tack, introduces smoother movement and opens the door for fluid combo extensions. Combine those dashes with attack inputs and suddenly you've got a whole new range of stylish maneuvers to elevate the classic gameplay formula. True to Double Dragon traditions, enemies still drop weapons, which can be snatched up for either brutal melee swings or satisfyingly reckless tosses across the screen. This version, however, spices things up with a combo counter HUD, tallying each chain attack as it lands, a small but addictive touch for any beat-em-up veteran chasing high scores. Racking up enough hits fills the brand new limit gauge, and when it's full, Billy and Jimmy can unleash devastating limit breaks, marking the first time ever this mechanic appeared in an official Double Dragon game. For a brief glorious window, their attack power skyrockets, letting them tear through foes with pure martial arts fury. Stage 1 drops players straight into the gritty heart of the city slums, setting the tone with dark alleys, flickering neon and endless waves of street punks. Between missions, the brothers catch their breath in back alley bars, gathering scraps of intel about Marion's whereabouts and piecing together the mystery. Each completed stage dishes out both scores and experience points, which can be spent on new power-ups and expanded movesets, allowing players to truly shape their fighting style. Back in its heyday, those scores could even be uploaded to online leaderboards, fueling fierce competition as players around the world fought for bragging rights, proving once again that even in its mobile form, Double Dragon still knows how to throw a proper punch. Stage 2 sees our heroic brothers trade the grimy streets for a factory floor, another classic Double Dragon battleground. But this time it's been given a full visual makeover and a remix soundtrack that absolutely slaps. The familiar setting hides a few surprises, including brand new enemy sprites that have never appeared in the series before. The level's big finale is a showdown against Burnoff, the masked mountain of muscle who first appeared in Double Dragon 2 The Revenge back in 1988. In one of the most hilariously bizarre exchanges in the franchise's history, Burnoff actually flirts with Billy and Jimmy, calling them stunning examples of the male form. The brothers respond with classic 1980s subtlety, by insulting him, mocking his weight, and then promptly kicking him flat on his arse. Classic Double Dragon. Between major stages, players are treated to bonus rounds, such as the returning Drum Can Crusher minigame, where the goal is simple: smash as many barrels as humanly possible before the timer runs out. These quick-fire diversions reward extra points and experience, giving skilled players a satisfying boost before diving into the next brawl. Stage 3 brings something genuinely new: a vandalised school now occupied by the Black Warriors gang. The corridors are wrecked, graffiti covers the walls and enemies leap out from shattered lockers and trashed classrooms. The real surprise comes at the end, where the Lee brothers face their first ever female boss, Lavish Love, a knife-wielding assassin who bursts onto the scene after a cheeky line from the brothers about getting tired of this sausage fest. She's fast, flashy and utterly lethal, a stylish new addition to the Rogues Gallery. Stage 4 returns to familiar ground, a mountainous region straight out of classic Double Dragon lore, complete with deadly cliff drops waiting to punish careless movement. It's here that the hulking green Abobos make their comeback, testing the player's reflexes and spacing like never before. At the summit awaits Chin, a stoic martial arts master whose defeat grants the heroes new information about Marion's whereabouts, pushing the story towards its dramatic endgame. Stage 5 takes a wild turn, throwing players into a neon-lit nightclub pulsing with energy and chaos. As the brothers fight through crowds of bouncers and deadly female gang members, the background fills with cheering partygoers, dancing lights and pounding music. As they near the end of a level, the next boss can be seen lounging in the shadows, only to reveal herself as yet another woman, prompting the Lees to quip that they have to fight another babe. The tongue-in-cheek writing doesn't stop there. They even remark that the Black Warriors gang seems to be striving for gender equality in the workplace. And yes, that line is actually in the game. The ensuing battle is absurd as it is entertaining, with the villainess attacking through breakdancing moves and sprinting like one of those infamous Naruto runners from the 2019 Area 51 fiasco. What was all that about? Once she's defeated and revealed to be Machine Gun Willie's niece, no less, the stage is set for the final confrontation. It's time for one last showdown, and hopefully this time a real rescue of Marion. The final stage takes us deep into the Black Warrior's hideout, a lovingly crafted homage to the classic final levels from the original Double Dragon games. It's everything you'd expect from the old school finale, relentless enemies, devious traps, and enough environmental hazards to make even the most seasoned brawler break a sweat. For long-time fans, it feels like coming home, if home was full of goons trying to hit you with baseball bats. The finale kicks off with a full-blown boss rush, forcing players to relive every major battle they've fought so far, one after another before finally squaring off against the big man himself, Machine Gun Willie. As the iconic Double Dragon theme erupts in the background, the Lee brothers face their greatest challenge yet, surrounded by a small army of thugs. When the smoke clears and Willie finally falls, Marion is rescued at last, and the adventure ends on a triumphant high. The closing credits deliver pure 1980s arcade bliss. Billy and Jimmy cruising down the seafront in a convertible, Marion smiling in the backseat, the perfect retro send-off for a modern reimagining. But here's where things get even better. Just like the Zebo version before it, completing the campaign unlocks new playable characters, giving players every reason to dive straight back in for another round of fist kicks and nostalgia. It's a simple touch, but it adds a level of replayability the original arcade classic never had. What truly sets this version apart, though, is the sheer love and craftsmanship poured into it. This wasn't some soulless microtransaction-riddled cash grab, it was a full-fledged reimagining, expanding the original while staying completely true to its spirit. And that's what makes its disappearance so tragic. The game has been delisted from every official storefront, leaving preservationists to rely on complicated unofficial means just to keep it from vanishing forever. Another small but meaningful piece of gaming history left to fade away. This mobile entry proves that even the most obscure releases can hold genuine artistry, creativity that shines brightest when it's least expected. And don't forget that right now you can use my links below to grab a huge 30% off of the newly released Double Dragon Revive, a game I genuinely had a blast with, and an absolutely insane 75% off Double Dragon Neon, dropping it to under $3. That's less than the price of a pint for my personal favourite Double Dragon of them all. Save up to 90% on thousands of amazing titles, so happy shopping and cheerio.